Sorry guys, you're going to have to back up. I want to recline this chair because I want to be comfortable for this video. There we go. Maybe I need to change the camera angle a little and zoom in a little. There we go. Hey guys, my name is Chris if you didn't already know, and welcome to one of my Random Thoughts videos where, even though I say it's random thoughts, I already know what I'm going to talk about. First one, I want to address some comments by one person. Danky Kush, you need to calm down. Just calm down. I'm going to answer your question. On one video he's put, when dashcam back? And on another one, what's happening with the dashcam vids? And they've even put a little car emoji. Okay, so the dashcam videos, Dashcam Chris, my other channel, my third channel that has been stagnant for, I can't remember how long, definitely over a year. So here's the thing, I actually still have footage from 2022. As a matter of fact, I was actually editing the latest one about a year ago, maybe May, I think it was May of 2022, and I think 2/3 of that is edited and it's just been sat there waiting for me to finish it. The reason I've not finished it is because the beginning of last year, 2023, I ended up scrapping my car. It was no good anymore. So up to that point I've got footage, and then for, what was it, 7 months until August I had no car, so obviously no dashcam footage. And then August of last year I got another Ford Focus. However, it was cheap. There was a lot of things wrong with it already, like for example, whenever you put the window down or up on both doors of the driver's side, it only goes so far, so you have to keep pressing it to make it come down, and same going back up. There were other issues, and I start thinking, is it prudent to put the dash cam in this car? Because I had that feeling that I wasn't going to have it that long, and lo and behold, I didn't. I had it for a year, and I've recently had to trade it in for yet another new car. This one's a lot better. It already, you know, there's no real issues with it, apart from there's a foggy light that's going to get done. I'm already been talking to the garage that I've got it from to sort that out, and a parcel shelf's missing. That's it. So anyway, getting back to Dashcam Chris. So because of all those issues, I sort of like just left it. Just thought there's no point in continuing until I can put the dashcam back in a car. And like I said, I wasn't going to do it in the Focus that I had over the past year because I knew it was going to go funny. It got worse. Let's put it that way, okay? That car got infinitely worse. So, Dashcam Chris, right, so here's the thing. I'm going to wait maybe a few months just to make sure that this car is actually as good as I think it is. And it's going to last years, hopefully. With that being said, I'm also going to be waiting for sales, maybe Black Friday sales or maybe the January sales, to get a new dashcam. I've still got my other one, but I'm thinking about putting one in the back as well as one in the front, and if the one I've got, I could maybe have that in the back, and then I can resume Dashcam Chris at that point. The other thing is, editing those videos is very, very difficult, honestly. I mean, when I make one of these videos or a vlog, you know, I can just cut, put it together, done. With dashcam videos, it's because it records in 3-minute increments. So I see something, somebody's been cut up or whatever, I click record. It records the entire 3 minutes. Now if it's near the end of that slot, it'll record 6 minutes. So I've got 6 minutes of footage to get through to find what it was that I clicked it for. And sometimes if something happens like 2 minutes after another thing and then another 2 minutes, I'm clicking, and before you know it, I've got 12 minutes of footage to get through. And it's very difficult because I don't know where in them slots where the incidents are. So I have to watch through the entire footage, and it gets quite monotonous because, you know, it's the same roads over and over again, especially when I'm going to and from work. It was always the same things over and over again, people speeding on the same road, and it's like, oh, do I really need to put this one in? I've shown this 1,000 times. But I did for a while try to keep up with the videos. Like, I'd do a week's footage, because it was like every week I've done a click. I'll take the card out of the camera, put it in my laptop to save the files, and then put the card back, and I started actually at the end of the week started editing those clips together so that it was already done for the following week, so forth. But I got lazy. And here's my question: do you want to see that footage from 2022? Because I can start editing those when I'm not being lazy and start posting them, and it should hopefully by the time I've got to the end of them I'll have got my dash cam in the car and I can be doing more afterwards. So do you want to see them? I mean, I can do them. I probably will anyway, but I'm just wondering if people would like to see that footage. So there you go, that's what's happening with Dashcam Chris. It is coming back eventually. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about was to continue my career life. As I mentioned in the last video, I was talking about being a paperboy and yada yada. This time I just want to quickly delve into the years of my college life because it leads to the job that I got. So the first place I went to was, I've already touched upon this, Castle College, where I had to redo some of my GCSEs because I failed them at school. But I also did other things like English literature, which I'd never done before, and I passed that. I was also learning about computers in another course, but to be honest I can't really recall much about that time. I do remember my first day there though. You see, at school I had this friend called Michael. We were the best of friends at school, and then of course that ended, the school, not our friendship, and 3 months passed by. During those 3 months I signed up to go to this college. Of course there's like the induction, you know, you sat in a room with all the other people who were just starting and people telling you about the, you know, where the library is and where all these classes are going to be, yada yada. And whilst I was sat there, I looked across to the other side of where people sat, and there was Michael. And we're just like, you know, like that Spider-Man meme where there's like a few Spider-Mans that are going, we kind of did that. So afterwards we went to each other and like, didn't know you were coming to this college. He's like, I didn't know you were coming to this college. And we actually had a few classes together. So I had a friend at college. I also remember on that first day, and I'm quite proud of this, a guy who had left my school, I think a year or 2 years prior to me leaving, he come up to me and tried bullying me. And I went, whoa, hold on a minute. We're at college now. Grow up. And he just went, oh, okay. And walked off. And do you know something? I never saw him again. Never. I can't even remember who it was. The other thing I remember from that time was Fridays I had a lesson in the morning and I think it finished at 12. My next lesson wasn't until 2 o'clock, so I had a 2-hour window to have my dinner and do whatever. And so I decided to go to Matilda Street, which wasn't that far, where the comic book shop was. Because, you know, in my youth I used to collect Beano? Is that what it was called? Beano? Dandy? Let me just confirm that. Yeah, I've just confirmed. Yeah, Beano and Dandy. I used to collect them comics when I was younger. And so I went to the comic book shop to try and find some of these comics. And suddenly I'm faced with DC and Marvel. I'm like, whoa, what's this? I actually still have it. I have this annual hardback comic book, or graphic novel if you want to call it that, of DC superheroes. And I always had this fascination of the Flash from that book, and of course I saw the Flash on the shelves. So at some point during that period I actually started collecting the Flash. That's when I started first collecting comic books. This was 1991. Still collect the Flash to this day, as well as many others, but I'm not going to delve into that because that's a story for another time. I'm trying to remember what else I remember from those days. I think my computing course, I remember, was in the evenings. I don't know, I think it was Thursday evening, so I wasn't finishing till like 8 o'clock, I think. I know, long hours. But I remember a conversation in that computer course talking about the millennium bug that was coming up, because this was, like I said, 1991, 1992, during that year that I was at that college. And they were discussing it, and I was like, it's not going to happen. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, surely a computer is not going to suddenly crash and erase everything just because the clock's changed from 1999 to 2000. It'll know, because 199 is before 2000. It'll know. And they're like, oh no, it's going from 99 to 0. I'm like, it'll not do that. Did it do it? No. I was right. So yeah, I don't really remember much else about Castle College other than I got the grades that I wanted. And then I had another period of, I think, 4 months of doing absolutely nothing. Oh, and I should just point out, before I left school, I was like this. I was stick figure sized. Because I had those 3 months off of doing nothing but eating crap, I ballooned. And I've not shrunk since. So yeah, I had 4 months off because I didn't know what I was doing. My mum, bless her, she dragged me to the careers office and we were looking at all these things, and I saw that there was a computers and computing course at another college called Parsons Cross, and I was like, I want to do that. So I signed up for that, and that's when I had to quit my paper round. I was still doing my paper round at that point, but because Parsons Cross was across the other side of Sheffield, there was no way for me to do a paper round and get there, or do that and then get home for a paper round. So yeah, I had to quit that. But good thing about this course was it was a 2-year course, MVQ, level 1 and 2. We were actually getting paid for this course. We were getting £35 a week. And because I was getting that money, that's what started me buying VHS videos. That's when my collection started in 1992. The other thing that came with this course was we had to go on a work placement. Now, there was about, I think, 17 of us in this course, and so they all got places that they could go to where they work with computers. However, they couldn't find a place for me. So as it was coming up to Christmas, they decided to put me in the photocopying office at the college as a work placement. Yeah, that didn't end very well, because I wasn't very good at that job. It turned out, it ended up being like I kept doing the wrong copies, or I didn't do the right sizes, and I don't know why I couldn't fathom it. It just didn't compute in my brain. The note that was on the sheets saying how many copies, what sizes and all this, for some reason it didn't compute in my head, and so I did it wrong a lot. So they were like, we need to get in place somewhere. But the good thing about that time was the Christmas party happened, and because I was part of the faculty at that, well, sort of, I was at that party. I remember a guy had been travelling around the world. He'd got some banana wine that I tried. I can't remember what it was like. I do remember a few things though from it. 1, I ate a lot. 2, I got very drunk. And 3, they said to me that I could go early, just go home. Now, my bladder is horrible. It's terrible, has always been. So just before I left college, I thought, I'm going to go to the toilet. So I did. Went to the bus stop. By the time the bus come, I was already desperate to go again. But I got on anyway. As I got into town, I was practically busting. Like, I was in danger of it just exploding, my bladder. I got off the bus and I kid you not, I was hobbling to the toilets. I couldn't move fast because I was holding it in. And that pee, because of being holding it so long, it came out like an dribble. I think I was stood there for like 5 minutes just letting it trickle out. And then I got on the next bus to go home, where I fell asleep. But luckily for me, I always like, as soon as I'm near where I lived, I'd wake up suddenly. So I didn't miss my stop. Eventually, that college, I did get a placement. And I'm actually going to reveal the place I used to work at, because it doesn't matter anymore. I don't work there. I've not worked there for over 2 years. They're not going to care that I want to mention it. Because originally I was going to say, they are the Masters of Forge. Now, anybody from Sheffield know who I'm talking about. Sheffield Forge Masters. There we go. They placed me there in the office as a temporary measure. And what I was doing was, back then they had work cards. You know, the employees, they had to fill in what hours they did, and I'd collect the cards and I'd fill in the other details that needed putting in, and then I gave to wages. That only lasted until February of I nearly said 20 something, 1993. I know, I'm old. And then I was told I got a placement at a place called Clarkson Osborne, which, by the way, as far as I know, is no longer there. I think it was a tool making place. I can't really recall. All I remember was I was working in the office answering phones to put people on hold before I could pass them on to salespeople. It was very, very dull. I hated it. I really did. And that lasted for about 3 months. The other thing I remember from that time was I would go to the comic shop on the Wicker during my dinner break on Friday to collect my comic books, and then go to a pub around the corner from where I was working, and I'd be reading my comic books while I was eating my dinner. And if I remember right, that was during the time of the death of Superman in the comics, which I was just glued to. I really love those stories. I still do to this day. Again, I'm talking about comics. Anyway, the other thing I remember about Clocks I Was Born, there was a girl there called Nikki, I think, and she and I had sort of like this banter going with each other, but I think she actually hated me. I didn't hate her. I thought she was, you know, attractive and everything, but yeah, we had this sort of banter thing going on. I don't know. I don't really recall what was said or what we did or how often I saw her. I don't even know which department she worked in. Coming to May of 1993, I'd been there for 3 months. I got a phone call from a guy called Steve from Forge Masters saying, we want you back because you were doing so well with these work cards. And I was like, sure, because I hate Clocks I Was Born. I don't want to be there no more. So I went back to Forge Masters, and from May of 1993 until September of 1994 I worked in that office. You know, I just used to talk to everybody all the time when I was not doing anything. I mean, I wasn't really getting paid for it. I was still getting that £35 a week from college to be there for, because I was at college for I think Monday, Tuesday, and then for the rest of the week at Forge Masters in the office. But coming up to the end of my term there, because I'd finished my college course, I'd passed everything. I mean, it wasn't that hard. It was like databases, spreadsheets, word processing. We did try a bit of programming, and I was able to copy the sheet that you followed and and it did. I think it played the game where it's got 2 blocks going up and down the screen and bouncing a ball across. I think it was that one. Yeah, it was coming to the end of, you know, the course had finished. It was coming up to the end of my term. I was about to leave Forge Masters, so I was looking for a job. It turned out the heat treatment of Sheffield Forge Masters, where I was working, one of their employees had to leave work permanently because of ill health. You know, his health was really, really bad, and he was no longer able to work, and so a position opened up, and I got asked, would I like to take that position? Of course, I said yes, because, you know, I was looking for a job. And so that's how I got into working at Sheffield Forge Masters. I will talk more about that in the next video, because I have a whole list of stories and things that happened there. That's going to take a few videos to get through, I kid you not. I'm still racking my brains up to what other things that I can talk about from that time, because I was there for, well, let's see, I started in September of 94 and I left in June of 2022, so 28 years. Anyway, I can tell that I've talked too long because my voice is getting a bit croaky. So yes, there is actually another college story, but I will get to that on the next video, because I'd started working full time at the company, and boys, the first few parts of that story, a doozy. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope the question about Dashcam Chris has been answered, and I haven't talked way too long, but I've got a feeling I have, and I've got to edit it now. Oh well, at least it's not like a Dashcam video where I've got to look for the footage. I can just chop 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 like a sushi chef. Oh dear. Right, I'm definitely going now because I'm going batty. All that's left for me to say now is thank you for watching and subscribing if you have, and liking this video if you did. Until the next time, peace out. Oh yeah, there's one other thing I remember from Parson Cross College. I got to know this guy who worked there. I can't remember if he was a cleaner or a janitor or whatever, but I got to know him very well. But for some reason he kept calling me Peter or Pete, and I kept correcting him. My name's not Pete, it's Chris. No matter how many times I told him, he still kept calling me Pete. Until one day I was in one of the classes and he walked in and he was talking to the teacher, and then he's like, Pete, Pete, Peter, Pete. I did not know what to do. I just froze, and I'm like, my name's not Pete, my name's not Pete, and I just didn't answer. And eventually the teacher turned to him and said, who are you calling? He's like, him over there. He's going, that's Chris. And I looked at him and he looked at me, and then he looked like he was ready to blow up. And I'm just like, oh my God, I've embarrassed him too much. And I was right, because after that, he never spoke to me again. I mean, yes, I'm very sorry about it, and I did try to apologise to him, but he was having none of it. But it just got to the point where I couldn't tell him anymore that my name was Chris and not Pete. But you know, I've got this feeling if I'd have told him my name's Mary Poppins, he probably would have still called me Pete.